right, so before we dive too deep into the indicator, I just want to break down the settings here and what they mean on the dashboard, and then we're going to dive into the internal settings of this. So the silver bullet trader, it's basically just tracking a silver bullet setup. And so what it's going to do is back test this setup over time. So it's going back over 80 trades and testing every single time that there was an opportunity. So it's automatically back testing that setup. Now, if we change time frames, all that data is going to look different because the silver bullet is time frame based because it's fair value gap based. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. But the data here is going to be extremely important. It's going to let us know if it's a setup that we can use or not. So we look for at least a 50% win rate or better. We need a profit factor of at least 1.0 or better. That 1.0 means that the system is essentially just break even. So a 1.24 means that you're making 1.24 on your money if you took every single setup. You'd be at a 56% win rate and 1.24 over 80 trades. Max drawdown 2230. So right now there's not an active trade because the market's closed. And for the setup, we'll go into the internals. It's just talking about the daily bias. We have our risk to reward set up at 1, and you can see right now the settings have us between 11 and 12 on this chart. It's actually 10 to 11. My timing is just a bit off down here. So if you double click on this dashboard, you can start seeing some of the internal settings. The trading session moves the time around. So if you want to start trading earlier or maybe a little bit later, you can start moving those times around and it starts shopping for those trades in different areas. And you can see it mapping it out here. Again, so right here, closing all the open trades is just, it's kind of like an immediate shut off. So whenever that time hits, everything automatically closes no matter what's going on. So I always recommend leaving that later in the day just because it could cause you some trouble. Minimum gap size is just going to be measuring a fair value gap. So if you only want to take a certain size gap or if you only want to test certain size gaps, you could do that. So if, say we're looking at a minimum gap size of 5, that's actually better. You could see it not only give us, looks like more trades, but a higher win rate. And so we could keep testing that and seeing. So right there, we're kind of breaking it, starting to go back down a bit. But you can see if you change the measurement on the gap size, it actually changes the win rate. And the gap size is just, again, it's measuring the gap. So if it's at 3, it's going to be looking at price. So if it's at this gap, you can see this gap is the low of 43,380. The high is 43,406. So that gap is definitely more than 3 points. Max move size, I don't think it's really measuring the move. That's just there for testing purposes. Now you can also test out whether bullish fair value gaps or bearish fair value gaps have been working better. So if you take off bullish, I'll just show you the percentages for the bearish ones and vice versa. So you can see it's actually a bit better if you're using just both for profit factor and win rate. And again, that's how we test it. You can test the daily bias too. So if you only want to trade it after there's been a daily breakout, you can see it brings out the previous day. And now it's only taking this short because there's already been a daily breakout. You could also trade it to a daily reversal. So it'll only start looking for those reversal trades after the daily breakout. And again, you're just looking at the numbers. Would we trade this setup? No, less than a 50% win rate, less than a 1.0 profit factor. Now, if we leave it at no daily bias, you can see it's pretty good. We recommend leaving it there, especially when you begin testing. As we get into some of the deeper testing, some of these things will actually be really helpful. But it has zones and ranges and breakers as well. And so on this setup, for the mechanics of it, let me see. Let me fix the time just a bit. So for this setup here, you can see it went short. Now, when it went short there, it had your stop loss here and your TP here. Now you can see that's a 1-to-1. You can change that to a 2-to-1. So select risk reward right there, and it'll leave that stop there, but put your TP at a 2-to-1. And you can again see the win rate and the profit factor. Would we trade this? Probably not, because I like to win trades and scalp them, and you'll see more stuff toward the end. And the profit factor on here is good, so you could trade this and be profitable, but most of these trades are probably going to lose. That's why testing at 1-to-1 is always going to give you the best win rate, because it's going to be most likely to hit. You could also set how many trades you want to take in a day. It's not really as relevant for the 5 minute and 15, but if you're on the 1 minute or even lower, you know, that can be pretty important. I recommend, you know, 5 to 6 a day if you're going to trade like the 1 minute or lower. The opening range you could really just leave as your trading session. I'm not sure if it's factored in right now. I think that's just used for testing purposes, but these are going to be the basic settings and what they do inside of your silver bullet indicator. But I will see you guys in the next video, and we'll get into the specifics and how to start building in setups into the indicator.